We have the founder of Climate Healers, Dr. Sailesh Rao, and the Million Vegan Grandmothers after he speaks. And so, Dr. Rao, I'm just going to turn it over to you. Thank you so much for the pleasure of getting to be here with you and all of the people that are moving toward a new world.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thanks to the team for just an incredible convergence, as always. Every time I come to these convergences, I feel rejuvenated. Now, so today I want to talk to you about Rewilding Planet B. And first I want to begin by clarifying why we call it Planet B as opposed to Planet A. Because Jan Liban said that yesterday, that there is only one planet, Planet A. We need to be rewilding Planet A. The reason I call it Planet B, and we've been using that with climate healers for a while, is because we need to look at things in a completely different way, upside down. Hold on a second. I think I'm not showing. Yeah, I hope that's better. So, I wanted to show you first how you would look at the globe if the south was on top and the north was at the bottom. Because we're not used to seeing the globe like this. We always see it with the north on top. And this is symbolic of asking us to look at things upside down. So Planet B is the world of Planet A turned upside down. And Planet A is the planet where we have been all addicted into compulsive behaviors. So this is the planet that the corporation has been running. So I call it the big corporation. Call it the English East India Company. Some big corporation that's running the whole planet at the moment. And it's disintegrating in front of our eyes, this entire system, this empire building, this war making, this violent system is disintegrating in front of our eyes. So, but to make sense of this and to help us overcome and to carry on and create a new world in which all life can thrive, we really have to look at things upside down. And that's what I mean by Planet B. And that's the theme of previous two convergences as well. We brought this concept of Planet B, understanding things from a different perspective. And I say understand it from the perspective that nature is in charge. Nature has always been in charge. We are not, overcoming nature. No, nature is using us. Nature is using us as a tool. We are an instrument of nature. Because anytime there are environmental challenges, life always finds a way to increase complexity to overcome the challenges. And we are facing one such major environmental challenge today, which is that the Earth is at the edge of the habitable zone around the sun. Actually, it is at the inner edge. Inner edge meaning it's getting too hot for maintaining liquid water on the surface of the planet. Because maintaining liquid water on the surface of the planet is essential for life to thrive on any planet. So this is how habitable zones are measured. So we are at the inner edge of the habitable zone around the sun. Why? Because the sun is a G2V main sequence star, it's called. And basically, it gets hotter and hotter over time. 1% hotter every 100 million years. May not seem like much, but over 4.6 billion years, that's a lot hotter. And as a result, the Earth, which was right in the middle of the habitable zone around the sun, so it was perfect for liquid water to be on the surface, and this is how life formed, now is getting closer and closer to the inner edge. And as it gets closer and closer to the inner edge, life has to figure out a way to maintain the conditions for life on the planet. Okay, so it does that by modifying its greenhouse gas profiles. So there is research in paleoclimatology that shows that the carbon dioxide levels used to be much, much higher, from 1700 to 7,000 parts per million. And with the estimate being 3,000 parts per million, 400 million years ago. And then when the carbon dioxide levels went down, we had a major ice age. So the blue is an ice age because it shows glaciation, how far down in latitude it came. And you'll see the latitude on the right. Okay? So if it comes below like 75 latitude, I think it's known as a major ice age, or something like that. So this is a major ice age. And we are now in a major ice age that started 33.9 million years ago, the Cenozoic ice age. So paradoxically, as the sun gets warmer and warmer, and the Earth is getting closer and closer to the hot edge of the habitable zone, paradoxically, the Earth got cold. Because it had to keep reducing the CO2 level in the atmosphere to get to maintain the conditions for life. And you can see the CO2 levels coming down here. And as it gets lower and lower, it becomes harder and harder to control with the passive mechanisms that life had always used, like the rock weathering mechanisms for maintaining CO2 levels. So now it's so low that any small changes in the orbit of the Earth around the sun, changes in the orbit, literally, it's like little wobbles in the Earth's orbit. And the little wobbles are enough to change the amount of solar energy that falls on Earth by like 1 watt per square meter. From 240, it comes down to 239. It's enough to trigger a glaciation. And when you trigger a glaciation, there are all these amplifications that happen. So the Earth gets colder and colder. The snow that fell during winter doesn't melt by summer, and the snow kind of builds up over time and it becomes a glacier. So over thousands of years, you get glaciers. And this is the time during which the Earth spawned us as a species. Okay? So the temperature of the Earth was going up and down, and the Earth would be in a warm period for a short period of time, about 5,000, 10,000 years, and then it will come back to an ice age. And during an ice age, or glaciation, it's not an ice age. Ice age is the big ice age, is Cenozoic ice age. Glaciation is when the ice comes down on top of North America and fills up like a mile of ice on top of Chicago, a mile of ice on top of Europe. And life has to confine itself to the equator. But it gets colder in the ocean too, when that happens. Now, so during this time, the Earth spawned us as a species, gave us control of fire. So you're not telling the story from the perspective of the Earth being in charge. Nature is in charge. She gave us control of fire and said, go out there and heat up the planet and maintain the temperature. So that's what we did 50,000 years ago. We were all Africans. We were all in Africa. There was just one big family in Africa that then migrated out of Africa, went to every part of the world, and became these different races, so to speak. So not race. We're all the same. Okay. We just adapted to different climates. So those who went to the cold climates, remember our ancestors walking across ice bridges and going to every part of the world. Think of how much hardship they went through. And because they were part of a project, they were doing this 50,000 year long project. So 50,000 years ago, we migrated out of Africa, went to every part of the world. And then came the current warm period. That's about 11,700 years ago. And the current warm period, these are known as Milankovitch cycles. These wobbles have been understood now as to why these wobbles happen and how these wobbles cause slightly different amount of sunlight to fall on Earth and cause these glaciations to happen. So this warm period looks exactly like the warm period that happened 3 ice ages ago, except instead of coming down to another glaciation event, it stayed flat. Because our ancestors were hard at work, we were the tools of nature trying to regulate the climate. So we were hard at work, and the evidence is there in the methane levels in the atmosphere, this greenhouse gas. You can see the methane levels going up because of what humans did, and the CO2 levels going up because of what humans did. Now, some people have been arguing with me saying that, CO2 has got nothing to do with climate. It's all water vapor. But CO2 is like a catalyst. It has a different profile in the radiation that it traps certain radiation, electromagnetic radiation, and reflects it back and reflects it out. And so it's like a natural glass for a greenhouse. If you, inside a greenhouse also, if you think about it, the infrared heat is being trapped by the glass, but ultimately it is the water that's in the soil in the greenhouse that actually heats up the greenhouse a lot. That makes it warm inside the greenhouse. So the water vapor is the amplifying factor, but the catalyst is the glass for the greenhouse. Without the glass, there is no greenhouse, right? In the same way, without the CO2, there is no greenhouse effect, or CO2 and methane and all the greenhouse gases. And so they start the process, and then the water vapor amplifies it. So we know that I think water vapor and other effects take the original greenhouse effect of CO2 and triple it. Okay, so CO2 is a good measure, and methane is a good measure for whether we are stabilizing the climate or not. And so we started doing that. Our ancestors started doing that like 6,000 years ago. We were successful at bringing it out of what was happening 3 ice ages ago, which is in blue. And the red is the current warm period, Holocene era. And you can see the temperature then stayed flat and constant. So this is known as the early Anthropocene hypothesis of William Rediman. And it is central to the story we tell at Climate Healers. Okay, we say that our ancestors have been working on this project for 50,000 years. They did all the migration 50,000 years ago, and then they set it all up. And when the current warm period started 11,700 years ago, our ancestors started agriculture. And using that agriculture, we kept the temperature constant, and deforestation. And the amount of heating that we did prior to the industrial era is actually greater than the amount of heating that we did since the industrial era. This is why animal agriculture is absolutely the leading cause of climate change. So don't have any doubts about it. Okay? And it is the leading cause of climate change, and it is the leading cause of the heating on the planet. And now we are here, and we have to now consciously help Mother Nature stabilize the climate and keep it constant. As soon as we realize that we are the one, that we are responsible for heating the climate, we are responsible for destroying the biodiversity, we are responsible for the chemical pollution on the planet that has gone over the threshold. If we realize we are responsible for all of these, we are responsible for cleaning it up, for stabilizing the climate, and for maintaining it forever. So we have a job to do. This is what Kimaya was asking me to do. Do your job. So this is what the animals are asking us to do. Do your job. Do your job, and we can all thrive on this planet. So so this is the increase in complexity that life is asking us to spearhead so that life can thrive on the planet for another billion years. Yeah? But, like Mother Nature is like Shankar Narayan. If I have to die, I die. That's the attitude that Shankar Narayan takes, right? So Mother Earth is like that too. Hey, I'm going to try my best to thrive for another billion years. If it doesn't happen, hey, I had a good run, 3.6 billion years of life, and I'm willing to die. She's willing to die. Are you willing to die? Are we willing to die for that? I mean, are we just going to continue doing this and kill ourselves off? But that's the choice we have. We are always given a choice because Mother Earth is about love. Mother Nature is about love. Love always comes with choice. It's not about forcing anyone to do anything. So we have a choice, and we can choose between these three futures. And what we are embarking on, what I call the greatest transformation in human history, is about bending this curve and stabilizing the climate and keeping it there forever on behalf of our children and grandchildren. And so I love the graphics that Dr. Wood presented yesterday, so I'm going to use a couple of those. So he talked about how the way out is the way in, So it's through agriculture that and deforestation, overfishing, and animal domination, and then the Industrial Revolution kind of amplified. So with the Industrial Revolution, we also did factory farming in great extent, and much more deforestation and overfishing. And that has caused this increase in temperature. Otherwise, the temperature was quite stable. And despite the increase in temperature and despite the increase in CO2 levels, Earth has been doing her best to help us. Nature has been doing her best to help us. Right? This is what Jared Bishop pointed out yesterday, that nature has sequestered so much of our emissions. And so now the data is showing that animal agriculture is a leading cause of climate change. Not my data. It's the data in the IPCC's reports is showing that. When you take into account all of the greenhouse gases, all of the heating effects, and all of the cooling effects, and you put it together, you will see that this is Jared Bishop's paper, second paper on animal agriculture and climate change. He's pointing out that animal agriculture is responsible for 52%, plus the carbon opportunity cost, which he hadn't included. Okay, the carbon opportunity cost, which is going to sit on top of that. And fossil fuels and industry is responsible for 23% of the effective radiative forcing. Fossil fuels plus industry. It's responsible for a lot for this for CO2 and then methane, but that is offset by the cooling of SO2 and nitrous oxide and organic carbon. And so what sticks up above the line for the heating is just the effect of the non-methane volatile organic compounds plus carbon monoxide, halocarbons, and black carbon. So those are the three heating effects that stick up above the line. So and then I have forestry 10% and other ag 8% and waste 7%. This is all data from the Jared Bishop's paper. And when you count them all up, when you add them all up, you'll get to 100%. So this is it, okay? These are the things that we can play with. If you're only focusing on fossil fuels, and you want to end fossil fuels in industry as quickly as possible, these cooling gases will disappear within a few weeks. Like sulfur dioxide and NOx, they have a lifetime of a few hours to a few weeks in the atmosphere, all three of these. And that will then allow this fossil fuel and industry's impact to just pop up by 1.3 watts per square meter. So the total is now 2.6 watts per square meter of heating. So we have gone from 240 watts that the sun was giving us per square meter, 242.6 watts per square meter. Remember, going from 240 to 239 is enough to push us into a glaciation. So going from 240 to 242.6 is above what we can do. So this is why we are triggering a lot of other feedback loops that could amplify this heating and take us beyond, point of no return. The estimate is that we can go from 240 to 241 and still be within the stable zone. But nature has been helping us. Nature is helping us, saying, I can sequester the CO2 as quickly as possible if you just give me the space to do it, right? So the right way to address this is to go vegan first. Okay, this is what I've been saying, for years now, like 15 years. You have to go vegan first. That's what the data is telling you. That's what the data from the IPCC is telling us. That's what the data from all climate science is telling us. And are you telling me that the climate scientists don't know this? Of course they know this. Of course they know that animal agriculture is the leading cause of climate change. Of course they know that fossil fuels also bring cooling gases. Of course they know that they have been putting their thumb on the scale. Of course they know, because they have no choice. The politicians are running the IPCC. It is an intergovernmental panel on climate change. And the climate scientists are all stuck. They are all imprisoned by the politicians within these conventions. And through the conventions, they reduce the impact of deforestation and land use by a factor of 3. They undervalued methane emissions by a factor of 3. And they keep ignoring the cooling gases. So you ask, are the politicians trying to kill us? Yes, that's the movie we made. They're trying to kill us. Because they are all about maintaining power in the system. And to maintain power in the system, to continue the system, there has to be this big bloodletting. This periodic bloodletting that happens, right? World War I, World War II. There has to be this big bloodletting, with billions of people dying off. And you and I are not part of the people who are going to survive, according to their calculations. And if we continue along and go along with them, we're going to kill off all life on Earth. The Earth may die too. But she doesn't mind, for her. So he had a good run. He gave it a good shot. It's up to us from the bottom. It's up to us to make this happen, this vegan world by 2026. So have faith. When I tell you that animal agriculture is leading cause of climate change, don't go around quoting FAO's numbers. The UN FAO is basically the meat industry. And you're saying you still have doubts whether it's 14% or 51% or 87%. I'm telling you it's at least 87%. That's the position we have been taking for the last 5 years. And despite all the criticisms, despite all the questions that have come to me, I'm sticking with it. Why? Because I've addressed them all. And I even claim there is more than 87% now. It's at least 118%. Meaning if the world goes vegan, we can still use fossil fuels. And of course, we have to come down. You cannot keep heating up the planet. So fossil fuels have to go away over time. But it has to be done gradually as the forests come back. So the rewilding and going vegan has to happen first. And we have shown this data, before, how we use the earth, how we use land on earth. And I'm sorry, I better start going fast. So this data is taken from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Even though I consider the IPCC is also part of this corrupt system that is trying to fool us, there are scientists who are trying to do the right thing within that. And they're trying to put the data out there that's accurate. And I look at multiple versions of data that come to me and decide which one do I pick. Do I pick the one from the IPCC or do I pick the one from the UN FAO? They're both UN data. Which one is closer to the truth? And I think the IPCC is closer to the truth on this in terms of how land is being used. Because I took this data from this land use, climate change and land report, and it shows that 37% is used for animal agriculture, including this used savanna and shrublands. Okay, 16%. It's being used. Okay, that's where the 37% comes from. But other people like Poor and Nemechek and the Oxford papers, they quote a lower number. They quote a lower number because they're using FAO's data. And so this is FAO's data. Now, our world in data uses usually FAO's data. And even FAO's data, to me, is farther from the truth than the IPCC's. Because first of all, it says that desert began, was there. The Sahara was there 10,000 years ago, which we know is not true. Okay, it's a barren land, it sticks up there. And 71% is habitable land. Habitable land 10,000 years ago was like this: 42% wild grasslands and shrubs, 57% forests. And forests only decreased by 1/3 from 10,000 years ago to today, 2018. Some of it became crops, and 31% is grazing. 31% of the habitable land is grazing. So if in terms of the original land, it's less than 31%. It's only like 21% or something like that. So in terms of area, it's much less than what I'm quoting from the IPCC. And then the 14% is still wild grassland and shrubs. Now, according to the UNFAO, we humans are using just half of the earth. 38% is forest, 14% is still shrubland and wild shrubland for wild animals. But then we know the biomass of wild animals is only 4% of the total biomass of mammals on the planet. Are you telling me that we are so generous, we are giving the 4%, 50% of the earth? That's not what the IPCC is saying. The IPCC is saying we are using 91% of the earth for ourselves, which is closer to the truth. This is why I pick the IPCC's data over the FAO's data on this. But then Poor and Nemechek, they used the FAO's data. That's where their numbers come from. So they're missing another 2 billion hectares here, which is currently being used. So which is degrading the wild shrubland and grassland that used to be there. And if we just let that go, that also will sequester carbon. And this is also very misleading because you look at this data, it says, if I just give up beef, mutton, and dairy, if I eat no beef, mutton, and dairy, I'll bring it down by half. Yay! Isn't that enough? No, you're using the entire ocean. Okay, still, which is where most of the destruction out of sight is happening. So here is no beef, mutton, or dairy. No, this is no beef or mutton, but beef from dairy is still included. This is dairy and beef dairy. It's included. This is no beef, mutton, or dairy is 1.1 billion hectares. Vegan is 1 billion hectares. See, it's only 10% more. And we can still eat chicken. We can still eat. So you don't need to go vegan. Okay, that's what it's trying to tell us. And I'm saying, no, you're missing this entire ocean, which is actually 71% of the Earth's surface. You're missing it in this diagram. So it's very misleading. So we have to really literally turn the earth into something sacred. Okay, we have to become vegan. And to me, veganism is not a diet. Veganism is a change in attitude. It's a change in our relationship with the earth, change in relationship with each other and with the animals on the earth. That's the path of awakening, the climate healing spiral that Dr. Wood pointed out, starting with us going vegan and then using science and technology, liberate the animals. Because we are using the animals for so many things now, but every one of them, we have to find a solution. We don't need to use them for that purpose. And then rewild the planet. That becomes our main purpose. Rewild the planet, clean up the pollution, and bring the earth back into harmony And so that our children and grandchildren will remember this generation as the generation that did it. And it begins with self-transformation. Please take care of yourself. Go from the 8 risky behaviors to the 8 healing habits. And I've spoken about this before, so I won't go into it more detail. And complete this task that our ancestors started 50,000 years ago. Make them proud and make Mother Earth proud. Okay? Give her life for another billion years. That's our job. And the McDonald's can go to hell. So thank you very much. Sorry, grandmothers, I took too much of your time.
No, you did not take too much of our time.
Oops.
Because we're in it together.
Thank you, Tammy. You're so gracious.
Please stay up, Sailesh, and all the other grandmothers. Beth, Love is coming up. Are there any grandmothers that would like to join us? Please raise your hands. Would appreciate that. I see Lisa Burke is here, and there's a lot of us grandmothers that are already co-hosts.
I see there's a question from Jonathan. Oh, his hand is down, so maybe there's not time for questions, or yeah. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Does anyone else like to come up? Rebecca, do you want to come up? Allison?
Thank you. I better watch the background here. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, let's bring up Lisa.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for this convergence. Thank you so much for the community that has put it together and the community that has joined us in conversations and the ability to open up and expand what we know to be true in a deeper way and our part. So as we're moving into a place of the ability to see deeper and to access more creative action, we come together as grandmothers and children and parents and wisdom keepers of all places. So thank you. Oh, great. Thank you for joining. I'd like to start out by reading a little piece from our pledge and declaration. As the million vegan grandmothers and wisdom carriers, we gather to express our fierce love for our children and the grandchildren of all species, and invite everyone to take our Homo Ahimsa pledge. I pledge to honor and protect all the animals, peoples, and Mother Earth herself by joyfully embodying and promoting an infinitely sustainable, cruelty-free vegan lifestyle that heals the climate and restores right relationship in the true spirit of Homo Ahimsa for all generations to come. We, the million vegan grandmothers and wisdom carriers, join together using the power of love. Excuse me. Love for the children and the grandchildren of all beings and for Mother Earth. Welcome are all people, regardless of gender, age, and official grandmother status, who align with the values of veganism and this declaration. We affirm the right of all beings to live in a natural, toxic-free environment, which allows all to thrive and to lead sacred, liberated, sovereign, and joyful lives. The power of our love is unstoppable. We do not allow this planet and all who live here to be destroyed. We are creating a vegan world of peace, freedom, and loving kindness for all. So if you feel like you would like to join us, if that resonates with you, please join us on Climate Healers under the Million Vegan Grandmothers. And I would like to invite Reverend Beth Love, to say a prayer in thoughts and care and empathy and compassion for the grandmothers and all of the beings that have been struggling in California and everywhere else in the world as well with what's been going on. So thanks, Bev.
Thank you, Tammy and Sailesh. Let's just take a deep breath together. Let's take another deep, deep cleansing breath. How good it is to pause for just a moment, to ground ourselves fully, deeply, lovingly on this earth that is so worthy of great stewardship. To remember that we are living and moving and having our being within a universe of sufficiency, that we serve a mighty God that is good and only good, that we can call by any name, but that we know that we can always call upon. And in fact, we know that it is right here where we are, that it is the very essence of life out of which each of us has come, individualized sparks of divinity herself. And so as we gather in this really beautiful way in this community that is so dedicated to peace, to love, to beauty, to sustainability, to wholeness, we are grateful, grateful, grateful. And we know and trust that all around the world where people are suffering, where animals are suffering, where the earth herself is being assaulted, including in the Los Angeles area, we know that this loving spiritual source is right there, right in the midst. Hold on just a second, please. Can we turn off the teapot for a minute, Jane? Jane, can you turn off the teapot for a minute? Sorry about that. So we just show up with love. We send love to our brothers and our sisters. We know that even in this climate healers community, there are those who have lost loved ones, who have lost homes, who have lost livelihoods, who have lost places of importance in these fires that are happening in LA. And we just pray, knowing that this can be the wake-up call that we have been waiting for people all over the world have been suffering in these ways for so long. People have lost so much due to human greed and due to our inability to step up and to remember that we are stewards of this earth. And so we just say that this is the wake-up call, that it has hit close enough to the profit centers now, that somebody is paying attention, that more people are paying attention, and that we are realizing that we must change our ways. We must move away from being a species that is all about consumption, like a caterpillar, that is all about seeking pleasure, and that is all about making the most money for those who already have the most. And we become that homo ahimsa species, that species that understands that we are here to be in right relationship with the earth and all life, that we are here to steward this time, to turn around not only this climate crisis, but all of the environmental crises that beset us. And we start to organize our human systems not around who can make the most money, but around how can we ensure the thriving of all life within the boundaries of a habitable, vibrant earth that well and amply supports all life. This is the call. This is what we are here for. This is what we dedicate our lives to. This is what we show up time and time again for. And we know that the essence of life itself, God by any name, is giving us the energy, the insight, the guidance, the strength, the support, the resilience to keep on keeping on, as together we reimagine this planet B. We reimagine this place where all of life is thriving. We hold that vision fresh before us. We release fear, we release worry, we release concern, and we stand in the knowing that we are held and that we are loved and that we are supported and that we have this, And we are so, so very grateful for this. Thank you, beloved. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know and trust that this or something better now manifests, so I can get out of the way. I can let this word go. I can let it be, and I can know that it is done. Thank you, beloved. And so it is. Let's just take another breath together. Sorry about that interruption. I did not ask one of my housemates. I asked the others. Anyway, here we are.
We couldn't hear it, so thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm glad. It was very loud here.
I see Lisa's come off. Maybe she's lost reception. Beth, would you like to share a little bit about Eat for the Earth? We have, the grandmothers have about 10 minutes, and then we'll leave 10 minutes for Q&A. Oh, there you are. Welcome back, Lisa. A little bit about Eat for the Earth, and then, yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Sure. So I started Eat for the Earth in 2019. Dr. Rao was one of the many people leaders in our movement that I talked to in the year leading up to that. I was trying to figure out how I could make the biggest impact in what was of most concern to me, which is I want our children to have a habitable planet where they can live long, healthy lives, sustainable lives, compassionate and just lives. And I didn't see enough attention being paid to the damage caused to all of our environmental systems by animal agriculture, because as we all know in the media, the primary thing that's talked about is fossil fuels, energy, etc. And so what I was realizing recently is that Eat for the Earth is actually a really good match for what I care about, but also my skill set. And so I just want to, as I talk a little bit about Eat for the Earth, I want to encourage everybody. I know almost everybody on this call is probably already active already, but if you're thinking, is there something more I can do? What's my next step? I want people to really think about, like, how can you make an impact in a way that's in alignment with your value system and the skill set you bring, even though it might require stretching. It certainly has required stretching for me. But we are a nonprofit organization, and we were initially started for this idea of supporting this transition in human understanding about the importance of dealing with diet as a way to maintain the habitability of the earth. But what we quickly learned was that a lot of people are not so interested in making a major lifestyle change for the purpose of preserving the earth. Those of us on this call are probably very committed to that, but many people are not. But when it comes to something that's hitting closer to home, their health, more people are willing to make a big change. And that is borne out by the statistics, though there are some groups that are more likely to come to our movement through the animal rights lens and some through environmentalism, again, mostly young people. So Eat for the Earth focuses on both human health and environmental sustainability. And it's not that the animals are left behind. We certainly will bring them into the equation through this idea of bringing our own selves into alignment with our own spiritual beliefs around compassion. So it will come in that way. But we have programs, lots of different programs and projects and initiatives. And we're always asking ourselves the question, how can we make the biggest impact? What are the systems changes we can make while we simultaneously support individuals to make changes? Because we know that both go hand in hand, that if we don't have critical mass among individuals wanting an idea to happen, it's going to be more difficult to make the systems change. So we're always thinking about how can we work from both ends. And I'll just mention a couple of things. One of our programs that we're putting a large part of our energy and time into is a 14-day immersion program, a whole food plant-based diet. And we primarily partner with healthcare clinics that serve very low income Latinos in our community. Latinos make up in our community, they have higher rates of impoverishment, higher rates of diabetes, less access to healthy food, et cetera. So it's an equity issue for us. So we primarily focus on that community, and we get primarily Spanish speakers, and we're having people have miraculous health improvements in just these 2 weeks of the program. And so that catches the attention of other clinicians. And so we've been able to develop some more partnerships with some other clinics. And it also helps us to raise funds. So we're actually get support from our local governments to run this program. And then we realized that we really needed to talk to the doctors directly as well. So Joya earlier referenced our conference. We had our first annual Food as Medicine conference last year, and we had about 100, 110 people in attendance in person or online. And we're planning for 250 this coming year now that we know what we're doing. And we had Dr. Michael Clapper and Dr. Columbus Batiste and a number of other plant-based experts talking about the health benefits of this diet to the audience of primarily healthcare providers, because that's who we targeted. So we had at the end doctors filling out their evaluation form and saying, I'm going to recommend whole food plant-based before medication and surgery to my patients. So, really, again, thinking about systems change, individual change, and how can we do whatever we can do with the capacities we have, the skill set we have, the energy that we have to move this movement forward in the way that makes the most impact.
Thanks, Beth. Thank you. Yeah, so Eat for the Earth, there's lots of ways to be part of that. I get a lot of emails from Beth with all kinds of opportunities to learn how to do food, or if you're in the area, learn how to make amazing food like that tastes like love. So how would people sign up?
People don't have to be in the area, because we're still doing online classes once a month. So we do food classes once a month. And I can, I can put it in this chat, and if it's not the right chat, somebody will move it. I'll put I'll put some of our contact information here in the chat.
Thanks, Beth. Another thing that the grandmothers do is we've had a really large letter writing campaign. You can find some of the letters on the website, climatehealers.org, under the grandmothers. And Lisa Burke has been a real trailblazer in that area, and really encouraging us to continue writing letters. Some of them might still be relevant, and you have permission to copy the letters and send them off. Lisa, did you want to share a little bit?
Let's see. Where am I at? Well, I use myself as my own data in trying to figure out how it is that people make change. And I'm, over 2 years into going vegan after exposing myself to what was really going on in the world once I retired. And then it was overnight. It's just simple if you expose yourself to what's going on, and primarily through climate healers, actually, and then watching a bunch of the documentaries, so on and so forth. But I live in a rural area in New England, in Vermont, and I know a lot of hunters. I work at a country inn, and that's sort of associated with Dartmouth College. There's that's one of our major clients, and so there's a lot of tradition. There's also a lot of dairy farms in Vermont, and other kinds of slaughterhouses and things like that. And I've come to the conclusion that this is really, for me, with my Buddhist studies, I just try as hard as I can to adhere to this idea of no discrimination. And that's literal. You don't get to say yeah, but with that. I think my deepest interest lies with this interface of paradoxes that we all have to live with, as we are accepting different kinds of change. I observed even in myself, even today, about 10 minutes ago, when Dr. Rao was showing these graphs, and I heard an internal voice inside of me that I've heard before in observing myself, and that was, oh, well, so in 10 million years, there's still half, a trillion trees left, or whatever it is. And I think that humans don't panic until there's panic. And I don't think that we're there yet. It's extraordinary to actually preempt and to take in and synthesize a lot of information. But in our brains, we're constantly looking for a way out. And so even some of these terrifying statistics and graphs, I hear myself saying, oh, well, I'm superimposing myself on, people that haven't made change. But I do think that that's what we do. And so I work really hard on learning how to speak my truth without making other people wrong. And I guess, that's all I can say is that this is something that I haven't quite figured out, exactly how I'm going to take that into the next step as an activist. But I think that there's really something there, to interface with people that have a very, very different way of seeing the world, but that I know in my heart care. Even this all happened because I know hunters, and they live with this deep paradox of really feeling a deep reverence and respect for the animals that they end up shooting to kill and eat, and then will hold up the head with holding up by the horns or whatever with the most unbelievable gleeful look on their face. And I'm not going to have. I want to understand that. I don't want to have disdain for it or shaming. So I hope I haven't gotten too far off of the mark here. But I have to say that that's something I'm very interested in, and I feel like by writing about that and having that more inclusive angle is just sort of what I'm working with to try to figure out how I can take that interest. It's really sociology, and then take it into the next sort of creative thing that I do through activism. So I'm sort of, I think right now I'm in a gathering phase around that. Plus I'm getting used to a new job that has a pretty steep learning curve. But yeah, I'm always really, really inspired, and I love just getting more and more educated about this, particularly about the science of it.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. I feel that we're all, many of us go through that pull, between really feeling a lot of pain over what's happening, but not wanting to stand in judgment whatsoever. Because a lot of us have some of the dearest people in our lives that are still eating flesh and secretions. And how do you find peace within that place? So thank you. And I still imagine as one of our first thoughts as the grandmothers joining is that maybe it'll be this year that our communities all walk out one day and make noise for all the calves that have lost their mother, because it's one of the very primary things that I had envisioned happening around the world on a regular basis. when you think about all those dairy farms. Did you want to share anything, Gabrielle, or should we go right on to questions?
Just briefly, just one of the things that we've done, because you were talking about our letter writing campaigns, and one of the things we've done is we sent out letters to 100 mayors across the United States, asking them to follow the lead of New York City in going plant-based in public facilities, the hospitals and the governmental offices, and I'm not really sure where else, but the point was that they're all going plant forward in New York, and so we've encouraged mayors in other cities. Quite frankly, we only got one response out of 100, but we're not going to give up. And anyone can do that. Anyone can do that.
Thank you. So as we move forward, if anyone is wanting to some support with the grandmothers, you can reach us at grandmothers@climatehealers.org. And yeah, we have a few minutes for questions, both for Dr. Sailesh Rao's presentation and the grandmothers. I think just a few minutes.
Okay. If Brahm will turn on his camera if he can. Yeah, he can turn on his camera and unmute. Okay, try again. There you go. Thank you.
I really enjoyed the whole 2 days. They were fantastic. And also the grandmothers, it's very inspiring. Actually, it started, the first talk was by Captain Watson, and he showed about the oceans. So one proposal of mine is maybe the next VCOP to spend more time on the oceans, because they are 70% of the whole land, of the whole areas of the world. There's so much going on there, and so much also possibilities of the CO2 being absorbed by the microorganisms there. So I think if we get more oceanographers and biologists to also add to the richness of what is going on now, because it's a lot of secrets still there, I think, that we have to resolve. And so much going on, actually, the trailings, and so with a lot of damage to the oceans. That was my suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that suggestion. We are going to the next week up will be about big changes, and the ocean is definitely on our mind. So someone like Sylvia Earle would be great to pick up.
Is Avram here? Please tell me when he is.
Yes, he's here.
Oh, yay. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. We'll see you.
Thank you all for this opportunity.